they moved to Florida to get away from his rules in May
They can't even.
June.
His own family can't even take it. We're out of here.
Yeah.
You deal
Mike
with your own
riled
self. Today we're celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act and talking about the evil Republicans kidnapping migrants, attempting to debate liberals, and attempting to enforce laws. Welcome to Relevant Rants. We have a special guest with us today, Chris Keeler, good friend of mine, longtime friend of mine. Obviously, Tom Touchstone, regular on the show. Kyle Lawson, regular here. And we're
You know what we've
talk.
set us? It's kind of, this is the balance sides. You know, and we're here today, and Kyle has an official Relative Rants outfit that he chooses to wear every time we have a relative.
Yeah, go back and watch the previous episode.
I was told not to wear a hat, so I said, okay, I'll wear a hat.
That's the way this guy rolls.
Yeah, and we asked Kyle last week not to wear a hat, and Tom was like, oh, wait, you want him to what? Okay, let me wear a hat too. Yeah.
And then I went and did my hair for some reason.
I did too. Normally I do wear a hat, so who knows.
I think
Anyway,
this might be one of the first times I wear a hat.
Tom, you got some things to talk about today.
I do, absolutely. I'm excited about some things. And as we could go up to the very top with our thing, hey, you know, I'd like to have a vacation in Martha's Vineyard. I don't know how that works, but I do know that they're having a meltdown down there because they had brought 50 migrants from, I believe, Texas or Florida. Was it
Have
Florida
you
or
watched
Texas?
the
That one was
interviews of
Florida.
the residents? Have you guys watched the interviews of the
Yeah,
residents?
I've kind of tried to
They
watch
are in
all of
meltdown.
it.
They're like, we can't house them. We can't take care of them. We're already overpacked as it is.
Well, as the saying goes, not in my backyard, right?
Right.
But I think Chris pointed out a good point. There's 2 rentals that are vacant. You know, and I think they probably could handle all 50 in those 2 rentals.
I'm sure there's some spare bedrooms.
But what about the beach? What about the beach? I just got a trip to Venice Beach, and I don't think they're worried about living inside. I mean, there's a lot of tents and stuff. So, I mean, they've got a lot of beach
Yeah, they could
property.
figure something out.
Yeah,
I think the big thing, and this is one of the points I wanted to make, is everyone's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Yeah.
Why do you
That's a
have to
whole
make
nother
it
story.
personal?
Hey,
man?
it wasn't personal. I promise. Is talking about kidnapping charges for DeSantis sending the immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, and I'm like, hey, so you're gonna send me to Disneyland, and I'm gonna call that kidnapping. What's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, they've all agreed to this. Every one of them that's got sent to Martha's Vineyard,
Right, they're not forcing
or
them on the plane, right?
Chicago or DC, have signed waivers and want to go to those places.
Right.
It's
But
just-
all of these places have said we're sanctuary cities, right?
That's what I was going to get to, the irony. It's like, hey, only electric cars. And it's like, don't charge your electric cars. Now it's like, we welcome everybody. We're a sanctuary state.
But
And then
don't
it's
send
like,
them here because
hold
we
on,
don't
wait.
actually want them.
Yeah, now that you're actually here, we don't want you. And we are literally, Chris just told us, they just brought, what is it, 100 and something? What was that?
125 Massachusetts National Guard members.
To deal with 50 people.
To escort them to Cape Cod.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wait, that's massive and immediate action.
Yeah.
Why don't we see that anywhere else?
You know, I'm just going to say this. Now, I don't know about, Massachusetts laws, but I do believe in Illinois, kidnapping is not a detainable offense.
That's crazy.
Starting January 1st, 2023.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think that if we,
But
I think we have a slide here too.
But we'll get to that in a second, Tom.
We don't do that now.
We have a letter from Gavin Newsom that has been sent to Merrick Garland, asking him to look into criminal charges based on what is it? Civil violations, federal law based on alleged fraudulent scheme, basically insinuating, hey, they're kidnapping. Can you look into this?
With the letter was attached like a $50 million check. Like, hey,
probably. But I mean, Merrick Garland, who's basically a opinion.
Michael, always get
allegedly, Alex always makes me say this, a pawn of the Democrats, right? He's been all over the news. If you haven't been watching the news, you'll see Merrick Garland's name. But
Don't forget, he's
hey,
the
at
one
least
that was.
he won't be arrested.
right?
At least in Illinois.
But he's the one who had his Supreme Court nomination torpedoed by the Republicans.
Oh yeah, so he's out for revenge,
That is my assumption.
right? Allegedly.
Yes.
as Alex always likes us to make us say.
And one of the things is that there's a lot of things we're talking about here. And, one of the things I would like to do and continue to make it a point is maybe Newsom and DeSantis just need to get together in a room and talk.
Debate. That'd be nice.
Well, honestly, just talk. And, instead of shooting these missiles back at each other through media, this is something my wife says. My wife's, superintendent of a school district. She goes, I deal with these Twitter and social media violations students are doing all the time. They put bad stuff on. She goes, but they're learning from our politicians. Mm-hmm. They're doing it on social media or Twitter wars. And it's like, hey, you both have planes, fly someplace, go to Starbucks, right? Go to Starbs and sit down.
Do you think that if Gavin got another guy in a room, that he might be looking for something else?
Well, I think that brings up another point that we're bringing up today is that in California, the people up for re-election don't want to debate anybody against them because there's a saying that if you're already winning, why do you want to expose yourself? And I'm like, that's a narrow-minded thing. Why wouldn't
the
you just
evil Republicans want to debate?
Why do you want to? Why can't we just talk about things, right? That's what we've done. I mean, on our show Lunch Break, we bring people in that may not believe like us.
Yeah.
And so we've had conversations, and I'm not opposed to that. I mean,
now, one thing. So Gavin Newsom and DeSantis could meet at Gavin's in-laws' house. They moved to Florida.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
How convenient.
Yes. Well, they moved to Florida.
You talking about Nancy?
No, his wife Sibelius or whatever.
Okay.
Her parents.
Okay.
What?
They moved to Florida to get away from his rules in May
They
or
can't even.
June.
His own family can't even
Yes.
take it. We're out of here.
Yeah.
You
Get Mike
deal with your
riled
own
up.
self.
Yeah, they moved in like May or June of 2020 when he had everything shut down.
Yeah.
They moved to Florida, and they actually registered to vote so that they could vote in Florida. They made a $4,500 donation this year to DeSantis.
So they don't want to support their son-in-law.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, they can all meet at their house.
But that's not the only ones that don't want to debate, right? We're talking about Dr. Oz and Fetterman. Dr. Oz himself, who's basically a liberal in sheep's clothing. But
There goes Mike again.
Tom, you always try to bring the balance. I brought on another guy to tip the scales in Monaco's favor here. So you're kind of outweighed. I don't know. Sorry, Tom.
I believe in humans.
I still love you.
I believe in people, and I'm depending on that. I do believe that people's better side always comes out. I believe that's something we depend on through the Holy Spirit. But
Yeah.
but I see what you guys see. I mean, I'm not blind. I live in California. I'm not blinded to this stuff. I mean, we deal with it a lot all the time, and as my profession as a pastor, we deal with some of the things that are heaped on us from being in business in California. And I know no manner, shape, or form represent the church as I'm sitting here.
Gavin Newsom and I are pretty alike. So we're
Similar?
both. Yeah, we're very defiant in the sense that he's telling everybody during a massive heat wave to turn their ACs up. He's telling everyone to stop, using utilities as much. And what does he do? He goes out, cools his room to such a degree that he has to wear a sweatshirt to be in the room. That is a Kyle Lawson move right there. Tell me to turn my AC up, it's going down. So he and I are very similar. He and I are very good.
That's funny.
You have to get to know Kyle better to understand this.
But they're in Pennsylvania, Dr. Oz, again, and Fetterman, who came out, this is not my words, this was his words, said, well, I'm not just Fetterman, I'm Fetterwoman. Yeah, that was a literal thing, and he had a shirt with it. But anyway, it was, I think, a pink shirt. You probably saw it, right?
Yeah,
I didn't see
I
that.
feel
That's
bad
not
for
okay.
that guy being trucked out there on stage like that.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think
He
he knows
doesn't
where
seem
it
like
is.
he's all there. He really doesn't.
Well, he's not. He had a stroke, so he's basically suffering effects of basically more or less brain damage effects,
Well,
which
That's hard.
hopefully are only temporary.
My
But
dad-
he's afraid to debate the Dr. Oz, and so they're pushing the debate until October 25th, which is outside of historical rules of elections anyway, to even wait that long to
Well,
have the
that's
debate.
2 weeks after early voting opens as well.
Right. So they're trying to delay it as long as possible because they don't want to put him in front of people for them to see how bad of a candidate he really is.
So is
Well,
he
you know,
legit incompetent?
At this point, yeah. I mean, he had a stroke, so would he be otherwise? Probably, but with a stroke on top of it, he's like President Biden level at this point.
Yeah, right now he has a hard time putting together a sentence.
Well, and
Literally.
I've had, my father had a stroke, multiple. My brother had a stroke. What it does is, there's this process of memory loss, there's a process of not being able to get out what you're wanting to say sometimes.
Right.
You know, and using maybe other words to describe circumstances. So my brother had a stroke a few years ago. My dad had multiple throughout his life. You know, God bless, rest in peace. So it just is. I mean, you know, it's a
That is
harder
tough.
thing for them to do. So I could see why he wouldn't. But if he wouldn't or couldn't, then that means maybe that job is not for you.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, my brother was retired as a deputy sheriff before, after, you know, he had a stroke afterwards, but he would no longer, I think, be able to perform his job as a deputy sheriff after his stroke.
Right. So going back to Martha's Vineyard, Alex has a video he wants us to watch. So Alex, you want to cue that up?
These Venezuelan leaders so outraged. That's why they're meeting here in downtown Doral at this park to express their concerns. In their press release, they said that Governor DeSantis has a blatant disregard for human life. Take a look at these images coming out of the island of Martha's Vineyard. Here's what we can tell you. Our CBS affiliate in Boston did track the planes. They started off in Texas, went to the Florida Panhandle.
Notice something? The guy sitting down, he looks like he's having a good time.
Yeah.
But they're being tortured.
Oh
Or
yeah, right
They're
there.
miserable.
Well, did you also notice the Venezuelan leaders in Florida protesting? They're doing that here because they can't do that in Venezuela.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but they're saying we're kidnapping, we're mistreating, we're doing all these things. We're asking them, hey, would you like to go to basically Disneyland, right? And we'll
I've
pay
never
for
been to Martha's Vineyard,
right.
so
We'll pay for everything.
if it's like this,
Do you want to go there? It's your option. We're not forcing you to go. And by the way, we're going to send you there on an airplane that's air conditioned and feed you and give you water along the way.
Also, there's frequent bus stops, like the trip stops, and you can go leave and grab stuff if you need to, if you want to.
Yeah, the other day my wife and I were at the Walmart on Rosedale Highway here where we live, and we were tripping out because we see this big bus that I have now seen on camera numerous times being, you know, photographed. And there's this big bus, and there was at least 50 people. I mean, maybe 50, might be 40 some people, right? And they were all parked out there, and there wasn't any news stations, but there was law enforcement there, and they were kind of just about 60 yards away just watching them. And these people, they'd went in, and we didn't know what was going on at first until we saw the luggage. We saw them going in and out of Walmart, and then we had saw the bus, and we're like, what is this? So we started looking up. It was the same looking bus that a lot of these migrant buses are traveling. I don't know where they were going. I don't know where the destination was, but we saw it here in town. Can we get 126, what was it, personnel to
National
take
Guard.
them wherever they'd like to go?
Probably
I'm-
not around here.
Look, my thing is like, look, either just be confident in your decision. Either you're a sanctuary state or you're not. Live with it. We've all decided where we stand on something, and we live with it, right? So just
we're
up
still
your
living in California too.
make up your mind, right? It's
Right.
like you're either for people coming here to get a better life. I'm not gonna lie. If I was in a different country, I would do everything I can to get America. But I'll say that, and I will stand that ground. But I will also say, do it the right way.
Do it the right way.
Yeah. So we're talking about things that are ironic. Alex, did you get a chance to pull up that other video clip that I asked you to grab? I did. Okay. So we want to pull this up real quick. And
We're getting video clips now. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Custom.
let's go ahead and watch the clip.
Was
And
required
it's still dropping.
because the other team didn't want to play. And all our distinguished guests, CEOs, advocates, activists, thank you for joining us. And what a great day. Exactly 4 weeks ago today, I signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law.
Basically, he's celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act as the Dow is.
Yeah, we're literally watching the Dow plummet, right? And it's still doing that, isn't it, Chris? You follow the stock market pretty well.
We're down, but it's not like it was on Tuesday.
Right. Okay. So the stock market is plummeting, and here's Biden, Aviator Joe or Dark Brandon, whichever name you want to call him, talking about how great of a job they're doing with the economy, the Inflation Reduction Act, which I so lovingly and affectionately call the Inflation Perpetuation Act, that is going to bail out everybody. We're going to bring down prices. Well, reality is groceries and everything else. Yeah, gas has gone down a bit, but it's still up from when Biden took office, right?
You know how to take care of that, right?
How's that?
Give out permits. Let the guys drill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's simple.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So we're making it impossible.
No, we're going electric. Not happening.
Well, don't you have an extra $60,000 to throw for an electric car?
No. Well, and I mean,
I love seeing Michael because I was in his office a year ago, and as I see that set, he has a couple of them in his office.
Yeah.
And my daughter works with Michael every day, so yeah,
yeah, and,
kind of an offside thing. If he stands,
Side comment.
yeah,
I do
Sidebar
like
with
so
our
like
attorney.
I'm not anti-electric. Make it available to those that want it, right? Like I've pre-ordered a Tesla truck. I think the night it came out. That's gonna be rad. But my wife also drives a 4x4 AT4.
Yeah.
So like,
I've had an electric car.
Yeah.
I've shared what my experience was on this show.
Yeah. So as we're talking about irony, there's Biden celebrating his basically destroying, pretending. What do you call it? Gaslighting? How could you gaslight any more than we're destroying the economy? Look at how great of a job we're doing increasing the economy.
I don't know that he actually knows what's going on.
He probably
That's
doesn't.
a polite way, Chris. You need
Chris
maybe-
is nicer than me.
Yes.
reading the teleprompter.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
Hey, the
Repeat
best
the
was
line.
when he was reading out of that card, and he turns it over, and there's instructions. Okay, sit down, say thank you, and you're like,
Yes.
oh,
Step by step.
we've hit a new level
Yeah.
of.
But
I'll
gas
leave it
prices
there.
are still higher than when he took office.
Correct.
And I know I feel it when I go to the grocery, or my wife feels it when she goes to the grocery store. Prices are higher than they've ever been, and inflation is still skyrocketing.
Yes.
So how can you celebrate the Inflation Reduction Act literally as the stock market's plummeting on the same screen, and knowing very well, he may not know, but the person who wrote his speech knowing very well that they're not doing a great job.
Yes, but the thing is, the market was plunging because inflation numbers were higher than expected.
It's
Right.
very interesting. So, like, on one hand, lumber is substantially cheaper. Okay,
It's gone
gas
down a
is
bit.
a little bit cheaper, and chicken wings, actually, fun fact, are the lowest at the lowest level they've been in like 4 or 5 years.
How in the world is that possible?
So we're all going to your house for hot wings?
Yeah, but I was just
Wingstop for me.
I was inquiring about those electric vehicles that Ford came out with, and I was like, out of curiosity, what do they cost? He goes, well, they're about 70, 80 grand, but then we have a $30,000 markup. I'm like, so how and what, like, there are some items, because people will cherry pick, it's not that inflated. Okay, well, a couple items, but as a whole, everything is up.
Yes.
Well, and I think, that's a technicality that a lot of people don't like to point out. Just saying, I mean, hey, it is what it is, and if we think it's going to get fair, I don't think that's something in people's vocabulary.
Yeah.
During the election time, that's something that is disturbing. But it's
How do you think the election goes?
the one coming up.
Yeah.
In California, I think it goes as we feel it's going to go.
Well, I'm just meaning as a whole, as a nation, where do you guys feel like things are heading?
Because
I saw a headline that read, and I didn't look into it, that read that Biden's poll numbers went up substantially. I mean, of course, it's a headline. I don't know the
Right,
accuracy.
and who runs the media? The liberals, right?
Yeah,
But I think Chris is actually one of my friends that's pretty well informed about this. So what do you think, Chris?
It's all over the place.
Okay.
It's looking like the Republicans should be able to take the House. The Senate is a toss-up, and it's massive who
and
wins.
it could come down to the better woman Oz thing.
Yes. Well, and then the Democrats have been talking about how the ones Republicans keep nominating are the Trumpists, the extreme right.
Well,
But-
the Democrats are helping fund those campaigns.
Yeah, it's Schumer's PAC.
Sure. And I'm sure Soros
Yeah.
is involved in there somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, literally, it's Schumer's PAC that's
Yeah.
paying them all.
Well,
That's funding it.
Well, as you brought up Soros, and we do know that he's trying to get a lot of the DAs elected in America. I talked to Cindy Zimmer on our show here, and she talked about how that's so true. And I think as you look at some of the things that they're doing, I think there's an issue in, I think it's Texas. There's a DA that is, coming up with something that, which would reduce a sentence for a second-degree murder from a DUI driver. I think we have the
Do
article
we have a
there.
slide for that?
I think we do. Yeah, there it goes. It's in Austin, Texas. They're just accusing the district attorney of going easy on crime, And it's one of those things that we're seeing a lot of that in California. I mean, I think as we had an incident last week in Bakersfield, where I think at Chipman Junior High, we had a young student bring 150 fentanyl pills to school.
It's been a bad thing here.
And the security officer that went through the backpack actually overdosed from inhaling
I did hear about
the substance. And there's a contradiction about, we don't know how the state that this guy's in. I'm sure somebody could tell us, but I'm just saying we don't know that. But it was like in junior high. But then we have it go back a few months where we had an arrest for 2 guys that they had, and they did not put in jail because they just released them because it was a non jail time thing.
Right.
50,000 fentanyl tablets, and then we have 150 that were brought into a junior high. I
You know how many
think
people that could kill? That's insane.
I
Well,
think
at
we're
least
getting a
150.
point. Well,
I mean, 2 girls just died in L.A. yesterday or day before from overdosing on fentanyl-laced pills.
so
in high school.
So
Yeah.
In the
then
bathroom.
we have
We've had people close to us that have.
we have Illinois. I just think this is a very interesting thing. Illinois is going to have a non-detainable offenses beginning January 1st, 2023, aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug-induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping. Non-detainable offenses. Robbery,
Unless it applies to illegal immigrants. they
robbery,
kidnap.
second-degree murder, threatening a public official. I mean,
So if you've been Googling, where is the best area to commit a crime? There you go.
Well, I mean,
Well, that and probably
and
California.
if you want, we'll
You'd
put
also-
up the sites where these things are coming from.
you'd also have to look at Tennessee. Both those guys in the 2 big news issues in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, Memphis.
The kidnapping murder. He got released early for second-degree murder. He should have still been in prison.
If the DNA would have been
Yeah.
expedited, he would have still been in prison.
Yeah.
So it's the
And-
guy who killed the teacher,
Yes.
mother of 2,
Oh, that's right.
and
Yeah.
wife, and,
Yeah.
and a civil servant who's serving our society. Not civil servant, but serving our society. And she's killed. Looks
Yes.
like she's raped. And from a guy who should have been in prison. We'll just say that. He should have been in prison.
Well, yeah, he was convicted of kidnapping. He kidnapped an attorney for trying to get ransom.
Yeah.
He got sentenced to 10 years in prison 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was out. And then the other guy in
And he's
Memphis.
up for other charges, too.
Yeah, and the guy in Memphis who went around shooting
The
random
young,
people.
I think the 19-year-old who filmed one of his
Yes.
murders, he should have been in prison, too.
Yeah, he got released early. What should have been, he had already been convicted
I
of
think there's 4
killing
deaths
somebody.
there and more injured on that one.
Yeah, he was
And
19.
So what exactly, can you guys elaborate? What does non-detainable offense mean? Does that it means
I
they
just
can
read
be
it.
arrested?
I just read it.
Well,
Bail.
no, but-
Yeah.
Where's Scott,
So
our attorney?
So what I'm
No.
meaning
Where
is
is
like,
our attorney?
is it like a misdemeanor
weeks
where
he's
you
been
can be
gone.
charged and cited, you
Cite
just
and
aren't
release.
taken in?
Yeah.
Okay, but like, what's
Catch
the
and
point in
release.
bail, right? Like the whole point in bail is like to hold someone accountable
Oh, but that's
for
not,
something that's
that's
pending.
not
and-
fair to poor people.
Is that really where that's going?
That's what Soros has been putting all these DAs in.
You're
for.
quick, Kyle.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Soros
I'm sitting
has
here
a
thinking,
whole
like-
other agenda, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's been the most visible push.
Yeah.
At what point, like, I'm looking at this like burglary, you could self-defend over something like that.
No, you can't.
Ki-
Not in the state of Illinois.
Well, no, you can. You just won't be you could still defend against it as a. But what I'm saying is, at what point can't you?
Well, they'll probably call if you something transpires there, they'll probably call that first degree murder, so that is a detainable offense.
I mean, they could, but generally,
Well,
And
to be fair in this, it says under the new law, after being charged with the crimes that are talked about, those arrested would be released without bail pending a court date.
You're able to read that, Tom?
I was
am.
so
You got your
impressed by that.
spectacles on.
I got glasses. I had to squint though too when I was reading it.
I was so impressed. I'm like, he's going for it.
Boom.
he's going.
Be
for
like
it.
the eye test. Can you read that? O-Q.
But I think the thing is we're talking about a lot of things that there's a lot of bad things going on in our world today. The Bible says that's going to happen,
It's
right?
gonna happen.
But there is also hope, and I keep pushing this and encourage this. Get out and vote, because maybe you're in California and for the state, yeah, it's going to go blue regardless. But on a national level, on a local, very local level, your vote does matter, and it affects.
I always tell people, if you vote, run for office if you want to change things.
Well, and around here, our assembly races are probably going to be very tight.
Yeah. So we're not without hope, guys. And remember, through all of this, God's still on the throne.
He is always on the throne. It says that he commands the hearts of the rulers like the water that goes around rock.
Right, and he predicted all of this, right?
Yeah. He wrote about it in the Word, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
faith, family, and freedom in Christ or in our country.
Yeah. So, this has been Relevant Rants. Hope you have a great day. God bless.